Hey, welcome, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. This is the Doc Lefty program. We're talking about some international issues, and the biggest international issue to talk about right now is the Olympics, which is just in time to kind of distract us from the founding Republican presidential campaign of Donald Trump. We might get to that a little bit later, but
that's not.
we're talking about Rio right now, and you made an interesting point that I'm just going to kind of piggyback on before we talk about some of the other issues in these games, that these cities really don't want to do this. They really don't want to have the Olympics in their town for the and that's sort of like the big joke internationally at this point. Remember, Boston was up for a bid a few years ago, and kiboshed the whole thing, and so this idea of we're going to have one city, we're going to just really advertise the country, and we're going to invest all this into this infrastructure that can be then inevitably, like London has kind of failed to do, turned into public spaces and things, which just never seems to work because they're specifically designed cities or specifically designed structures to accomplish certain specific goals, and it doesn't really work out. And Brazil recently has had, when they got the games 7 years ago, they were booming. The economy was on the rise. They were this country that was part of the BRIC side of nations, like these up and comers that were really going to be, Brazil and India and China were the engines of the world economy at this point because they had some way to go. And now 7 years later, their leader has been impeached. She's no longer in charge. The economy is in the toilet because no one can seem to, because a lot of factors, but primarily oil tanked them, just like a lot of those South American countries. And they're having some huge pollution problems that everybody that's ever been to Rio and that part of Brazil says, I can't believe you guys didn't see this 7 years ago. This has been a problem for a long time. So the Rio Games, they're putting a good face on it, but I think overall they're having some problems. You were the globe trotting continent hopper. So what is the things that you've been noticing?
Well, now I have a friend of mine, honest to goodness, she's from Brazil. And she was shocked that Brazil even had a chance of getting the Olympics. And if anybody has any idea of how the Olympics do it, I'll give you the brief rundown. Cities put in bids, millions and billions of dollars. We will pay the IOC this much money to have it here. And then the IOC choosing committee goes from town to town and tries to hold them up for even more bribes, right? And that's, honest to goodness, what it is, bribing. And these countries that have excuse me, I got a little bit of an itch in my eye. These countries that have that bid on these things view this as such a tremendous boon to their international stature that they will bankrupt the country. And what it essentially happens is they move out all the bad parts. The homeless get shuffled off, low-income housing gets shuffled off, everybody gets shuffled off, everything gets raised, and then they build these ginormous venues, and of course, all the corruption in the building industry, that's where the money goes. And they always lose money. The London Olympics lost a ton of money. The Atlanta Olympics lost a ton of money. And then we're not talking, Blake and I go out and bet $20 on the slots over at Prairie Meadows. We're talking, we go over to Prairie Meadows and we're losing, $500,000 every time we throw something down.
It's cute that you think that I've got that money to throw around.
Well, and that's part of the problem. That's because that's very accurate. Neither one of us have that kind of money to throw down, but that is what these venues do. And the process of this is really dehumanizing. And they never are able to get everything. Even London at the last minute was still scrambling. But anyway, the waters down there from a couple of my Brazilian friends, they have said, there's a reason there's no fish in the water. And I went, you got to be kidding. There's no fish? No, nobody fishes. You You know, you never see, like, you go to the Mississippi, you see people fishing all the time. You go to, you know, Rio de Janeiro, which means the river of Janeiro, and there's nobody ever fishing because there's no fish. There's a dead zone out in the estuary because of all the pollution and everything else coming from upriver. And I'm just like, I was dumbfounded. Part of the other thing is I was stuck in Charles de Gaulle, and I was watching the bicyclists in the Sky Club.
Oh,
I was watching women's bicyclists. Now everybody knows I'm not fond of bicycles, and they all need to be off the road. The gal who's leading, going down this particularly steep patch, everybody's complaining about how dangerous it is, wipes out, tumbles head first into this thing, broken back, broken neck, paralyzed, all kinds of tragedy. And I was talking to a couple of people that were there in the Sky Club, and they're saying, yeah, the men's events were horrible. The Serbian scullery team just wiped right out, just tipped right over. And the Brits were pretty funny because it was on BBC, and they were like, well, that's not the pool you want to swim in there, boys. And it's all kinds of things. The men's volleyball team shows up. They're trying to stay in Olympic Village. They went, screw it, and went to the hotel. The other thing is none of the venues are full. None of them. If you look at what it is, it's about half empty. And so you look at the giant tragedy that occurs for this because they're spending all kinds of money they don't have for prestige they don't need. Because, you hosted the Olympics, so is everybody else. It's not like it's the first one, okay? You're not hosting the first Olympics. And so you're spending all this money impoverishing your country even further when you can't afford it. The example of me and Blake going and dropping $500,000 per race out of Prairie Meadows is accurate. We don't have that money. We have to go borrow it. It's going to ruin our economy. And this is what happens every time. And it kind of brings me to the next point. This is a political game. Why not? I'm just going to throw this out there.
yeah.
Why don't we just have it in Greece? Why don't we go to Marathon and say, hey, we'll just build, for crying out loud, they still have the amphitheaters for the Greek games at Marathon. You know, I was just talking to a guy from Greece here 2 weeks ago. He said, why don't we just do it? Yeah, we'll just have it there. It'll be there every 4 years. We can have the Winter Olympic Games anywhere. Some place it's already hosted it, so they already have the venues. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't know about it being.
You're busy playing Boom Beach.
No, I'm not playing anything. But I did hear, like, Malcolm Gladwell has been talking about this too, saying, why do we have the summer? Why do we have runners? Why do we have the Olympics in one city? Why, there's no reason we can't split it out so that you can have, what he said was, you can have gymnastics in Rio because it's inside and it's air conditioned. But why are you having these runners running in the equatorial Brazil outdoors when it's super duper hot? There was in Beijing, it was like 90 degrees outside during the marathon. People were passing out. People were having huge problems. So you can have, he said, split it up. Have the games and have certain events in one city. Have certain events in another city around the. Like he said, running in Sweden in the summer would be really pleasant. Actually,
is it going to be a problem?
Yeah. So I think that he was saying he's always serious when he says stuff like this. So I take that for what it's worth. But it is an interesting idea. We don't, like, to your point, we can have it either in one spot every single year, like in Greece or whatever, or why not split it up?
Yeah,
or just around the world.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, particularly with our ability to stream things around the world. The way we do it, because we're a worldwide thing. And this is funny. I'm sitting in Amsterdam going to Kiev. A guy walks up, hey, I know you. All right, how do you know me? Well, I listen to your show. Get out. And I said, it's just my dad and my brother. My dad's dead, so we're, my brother's, still kind of upset, so we're down to, just me, you, and Ron.
I know. My brother-in-law every once in a while.
Yes. And so he started talking to me. I said, well, where are you from? Well, I'm from Toronto. Get that out, right? Anyway, So we're going to take a break. We're going to be back. We're going to continue to talk about Rio. We're going to talk about sexism and how far we have not come. Because, one of my favorite topics, I love talking politics, and I like talking about women. And so does Blake. So we're going to be back right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Des Moines Anesthesia at 515-574-6442. Halo Capital at DesMoinesInterestrates.com, Libidas Law Firm, and Bertrosian Associates. Just remember, without you, we couldn't do what we do. We'll be back right after